Now I would like to invite Ashmi. So Ashmi would be the interviewer of this session. So Ashmi is originally from India, but she's currently based in Germany. She's a doctoral researcher at the Technical University of Munich, Germany. Her research focuses on recommender systems and human-computer interaction. She holds a master's degree in computer science also from the same university. She's a Google Women Tech Makers Ambassador and a diversity enthusiast. She's passionate about bridging the gender gap in STEM through a myriad of voluntary activities with different women in STEM networks. When not sitting in front of a computer, she's either traveling or training to be a triathlete. So I again extend a warm welcome to Ashmi, and I would now pass on the floor to her. Welcome, Ashmi.
Thank you so much, Siddhi, for the lovely introduction. So now I would like to welcome all of you and especially our wonderful guest today, Zarreen. Zarreen is Zarreen was the fellow, she's a legacy fellow right now. So she was a fellow of the data science track last year. She's currently working as an AI research scientist where she delights in working at the intersection of high quality research, data science, and applied machine learning to produce innovative ML solutions for EV charging stations. Aside from her role as an AI scientist, she also gets herself involved in many open source projects and participating in hackathons. She also, as I mentioned previously, she also served as the leadership fellow of WWCode for 21 to 22, where she led the data science track in organizing free events, workshops, and building community that helps women excel in STEM roles. She likes to start her day with 10 minutes of yoga and a cup of hot chocolate. That's amazing. So welcome, Zarreen. We are super happy to have you here, and I'm extremely looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Ashmi, and thanks to Siddhi as well for kicking off this event so smoothly. And I'm personally really excited and happy to be here with all of you. Thanks so much.
It's our pleasure. So while we had the official introduction, the one that is being used everywhere. So besides that, I mean, that we know, we saw it. So how do you think you would like to introduce yourself, or basically, how do you think other people would like to introduce you to, I don't know, someone who doesn't know you, for example. For example, how do you think your colleagues or your friends would introduce you, or even your family?
That's a great question. That's a great question, Ashmi. Yeah, so I think I just, so for me, I try to explore new things. I like to explore new things always, be it like something in the tech world or something like just trying a new recipe in my own style. But I just want to experiment. Since my young age, I always wanted like to do experiments, just try to do something out of the box. Most of the times it don't work. It comes out as something bizarre, but still that exploration, that curiosity driven mind is always within me. And I really like to explore new opportunities as well. So Women Who Code fellowship was also something that came out of kind of nowhere. So this kind of different opportunities, like you were mentioning about these open source activities, hackathons, these are all a result of I was maybe browsing through something. I saw this hackathon is coming. I thought, let's just participate and see what happens. There were many hackathons or, activities that I took part in, but at a later point, I couldn't make time. So I backed out, but that was still okay because I learned what other people were doing. So there was always something that I want to take away out of a situation, no matter how it turns out. And for my friends and family and colleagues, I think there's a difference of opinion between my colleagues and my friends and family. So my colleagues, I don't know, they maybe think that I am like, I don't know how to say it, like they think I'm smart just because I do a lot of these things. So they just say like, oh, you have so, you are involved in so many things, you must be very smart. But that's like kind of my imposter syndrome immediately kicks in, because that's not how I see myself. I just like to try new things and explore. On the other side, my friends and family, they really, especially my friends, they find me quite inspiring for them. At least that's what they told me, that they find all these things that I'm doing quite inspiring. And there's like a couple of times they come to me and tell me like how I can also get started. So I try to help them. They also, encourage me all the time. They have been super supportive in all my activities, even when I started. On the other side, for my family, they think that I'm really busy. I don't have any life outside of my laptop. So sometimes they get really upset that I don't spend enough time with them. And sometimes that's true. I feel bad as well that, I don't know how to answer this question in one word. It's, I think, different depending on who you ask, the answer will change.
Mm-hmm. I can totally get it. Especially this family part, because it's also something similar for me. It's like, oh, you're just sitting in front of your computer the whole day, and you don't have time for anything or anyone else. And that's super relatable. But people often fail to realize that you can do so much sitting in front of your computer. Especially today, you literally can do almost everything it's possible to get done just sitting in front of your computer, right? Yeah. So, I mean, how were you introduced to tech? And I know that you are also, you're based in Canada now, right? But you are not from there, so you immigrated there like most of us. We all went to different countries to pursue higher education and for career purposes. So how was this journey like, or how did you end up in Canada, and why Canada?
That's an interesting story. So I think right after my undergrad, so when I was doing my undergrads, I think I wasn't really that, career driven, to be honest. I was just passing through the days, just trying to, get some good marks in this courses. That's all I used to care about. But when I was doing this undergraduate project, it's kind of like a thesis work, but in a smaller scale because it was for undergraduate. That time, my supervisor, he was a great person. I will always be grateful to him, but he really had seed that into me, like that research, like I can do research. So we were this all girls team. We were 3 girls in the team, and all of were like really underconfident when we started, and none of us were friends. Coincidentally, we just ended up being into one team. So all of us were like, being like support for each other. But our professor, he was really someone who believed in us. He said like, you don't need, a male team member in your team. You can do it by yourself. He really guided us through it. And we ended up doing something, like making something really well compared to where we were at that time. And the thesis project that came out as really, really well. We got special recognition, and that really helped to grow my confidence. And that was the time when I learned like, okay, I want to come into I want to do research. I want to do more of that. My research was on machine learning, and that was the time when that was the first time I learned about machine learning and computer vision. That was on computer vision. So I learned like, this is really interesting. For the first time in my life, I found something that really intrigued me. I wasn't really studying to get good grades. I was exploring. That exploration part, I think that time it really shined. So right after my graduation, I was like looking for ways to continue on that path. And unfortunately, that time, I'm originally from Bangladesh, So there wasn't really so many opportunities for me to, get into the field that I wanted to go, like academic or research, like doing really good research on that area. Things have changed quite a lot since then, but when I was I just graduated, I couldn't really find enough good opportunities. So I was following my seniors from the same university. I was seeing like they're moving to this country, that country and stuff. So I started applying. I applied to Canada, and then I just ended up being here.
That's such an inspiring story, actually. I mean, I have one question. You just mentioned that during your undergrad, you did a project, your thesis was with 3 female colleagues, or 3 female, not friends, but probably, I hope you became friends afterwards, but yeah. So, I mean, and this is a bit unusual, at least from what we are seeing in, say, US, UK, Europe, and so on, right? Because I have also had like I studied in India, and I never realized this gender disparity in tech until I moved to Germany. So what is your take on that? Like, how common is it to find, say, female teammates or have more females in tech in Bangladesh as compared to in Canada or rest of the world?
That's a great question. So physically, when you are inside your own, territory, inside your own network, sometimes it gets really hard to find like-minded people like you, like yourself, who are also female, like who are also maybe not necessarily female, but also from the same gender. But, women, as we know, are quite underrepresented in these STEM roles yet. So definitely it gets really hard to sometimes get just bumped. It's quite unlikely to just bump into a new unknown female in this same area that you have been working on. But that's like when you are in yours, when I was in my small little circle, small little bubble, I really didn't have so many role models to look up to. But when I came out of my country, I got exposed to this international, like a diverse community. So Canada or US, UK, like the places you mentioned, they are really diverse in terms of like immigrants. They welcome people from all backgrounds, all races, genders. So that's a very good place to meet new people and meet like you raise the probability quite high to meet like-minded people, and especially joining communities like Women Who Code and these open source communities, developer communities. It really helps to find your right partner or right like-minded people who you can just chat with and learn from each other. So this kind of global community involvement really helps. Through my fellowship in Women Who Code, I met with so many amazing women. I was so inspired by their stories, and it wasn't possible at all for me to know them if it hadn't for this Women Who Code fellowship. So for sure, like the more you expose yourself to the outer world, the more opportunities comes to you, and the more people you know. And there is always someone who you will find really interesting and inspiring. So I would just say, like, when I started exposing myself to new places, new communities, it really helped me find like-minded people.
Mm-hmm. That actually also shows your curiosity, or this eagerness to explore new things and try out new things. So that side just comes out. So I can totally relate to it. Yeah, saying that when you described yourself as like someone who's very curious, I could totally get it. Looking at you as a person and also as your profile. So how were you introduced to tech? is there a special story, or you were just like, studying tech?
Actually, there is a small story for that as well. But like in short, we back in Bangladesh, we used to had this big extended family where, like in countries like that, it's very common and it's very fun to, live in an extended family where your, grandparents, your uncles, your cousins, everyone live under one roof. So I grew up in a family like that as well. And my uncle, once he just brought a computer, the desktop, those big box like computers at home. And that was Windows XP, I think, which feels like forever ago. So that was the very first time when I got exposed to like a computer. Before that, I don't think I even knew what it was. I mean, the time period that I'm talking about, I think it was in the early 2000s. So that time it was, there were not much internet or smartphones or these laptops that, it wasn't that common. So that time I got exposed to these computers, and there were so many limitations. Even like I didn't know, like, moving forward there will be so many developments coming forward. But even that time I always used to feel like, oh, the interface looks so, I don't know, even that time I was feeling like the interface looks pretty outdated, and all these the memory issues there, it was really heavy. So whenever you wanted to put some files, put some books in there, it used to crash, or it used to got attacked by virus, all those, Kaspersky antivirus fighting. So it was quite an experience. But that time I thought like maybe, and that's how I got exposed to internet as well, with very limited, those landline internet connections that I'm talking about that time. So with that limited exposure, it really again, it really made me curious to learn, like, what are the developments going on. I was thinking like there must be something that people are working on to improve all these things, what they could be, and is there a career for that. So actually it may sound a bit cliche, but from very early age, for some reason, I decided that I wanted to be a computer engineer. That time, the word computer engineer meant to me like the one who fixes computers, like the computer who gets broken. And it was very common because we had this big family. A lot of people were using it, and none of us were, tech literate that time. So it was very common, like every other day the computer used to be broken, like there is a virus, it's not opening at all, so all this stuff. So I was thinking, if I become a computer engineer, I will be able to fix all these things. So let's try if there is a career like that. Can I study more on that? So that's how I started, like, thinking like I will be a computer engineer. But when I got more educated on what that means, my target was still the same, but my intention or my expectation got changed. I became more interested into the software side than the hardware side. So that's how it started. And in undergrad, when I was selecting subjects during those admission tests, I always knew like I will take computer engineering as the first choice, and then others as second. So it somehow, like it grew in me while using those desktop computers.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's actually very, very inspiring, and very like I was transported to my childhood when while I was listening to your story. Yeah, so like, but then we are talking about all the good things that kind of happened, that convinced you to stay in tech, and that basically like convinced you to also excel in tech. So are there some things that, but then I'm sure like life is never a bed of roses. So there probably has also been some downsides or like not so nice moments. What were, like, do you, or would you like to share some of those not so nice moments and how you overcame those challenges and, you know, emerged triumphant? Yeah, because I feel like that could be very inspiring for the community and for us as well.
Sure. It might, like, sound little heartbreaking, like some of them, but I think it's also important to address those issues because, as you said, like anyone, if I can overcome those challenges, then anyone can. So first of all, I think when we were this all-female research group back in our undergrad days, we were actually quite looked down upon by even our friends or, people around you who thought like you may not be successful because, I mean, how much do you know about this research, this project? And and even after graduation as well, when I was looking for jobs, I was, as I mentioned, I was looking for like research focused jobs. That time also, like sometimes the interview experiences were not really pleasant, in a sense, like, like having a bad interview is one thing, but having, like, coming out with a, I don't know how to say it, but when you feel like you were not taken seriously, that feeling is, I think, even worse. So that kind of feeling, I faced few of them when I was back in the country. And then coming to abroad, I thought, okay, it has gone. But after graduation also, sometimes getting into the industry was really difficult. I remember, like, right after my graduation, like right after finishing my master's, I started applying for jobs in so many, companies, and I got lot of rejections, especially for the roles which I really wanted to get into. But that's actually on me. I now that I look back, that time it was really heartbreaking. I thought, I'm just not good enough, I won't make it. But now that I look back, I just realized that I wasn't really good enough, and there were scopes that I could improve myself instead of just, dwelling on those failures. So the point is, like, never give up. I have this motto in my mind, like, just don't give up and believe in yourself. There will be a lot of failure cases. I had so many failure cases, as I was saying, but back in somewhere, like, my curiosity driven mind always told me, like, try something new. If this thing didn't work for you, find out a new way. So the things that work for someone might not work for you, and that's totally okay. There is no, like, one rule fits all situation for anyone. So if, applying through company websites doesn't work for you, try reaching out to someone who works in the company you are applying for. Or if nothing else, diversify your profile by involving into different things. So maybe you are looking for, so in the chat, I think I'm seeing a question about computer vision. So in case you are trying to get into computer vision area, as an example, try yourself, have your hands dirty on these practical projects on computer vision. So maybe participate in a hackathon. So I think I'm just a little too biased on towards hackathons, but just try and hackathon, participate in it. Even if you don't end up submitting something or end up, presenting a project, you will get to see what other people are working on, what they have come up with, and it will really trigger your creative brain. So I learned so much even by seeing other people's presentations in the finale day outside this hackathon. So this is something I really, really like about hackathons, not just for me participating, but also by seeing what other people have done, because they also got the same exposure to, like, the same amount of resources, same amount of time and energy. So if they can come up with something so interesting within that limited time frame and capacity, there is no reason like why you cannot. So just try to diversify your profile, just try to get yourself exposed to the fields you want to get into even before you start applying for jobs. So nowadays, I think this field has become really competitive because so many people are getting interested in it, which is really good, which is great. But it also means that you have to do something better than the usual to stand out from the crowd. And doing these, extracurricular things, these voluntary activities, will really help your help grow your skill, grow your confidence, and also it will look really nice on your resume.
Talking about voluntary activities, you have been involved in a lot of voluntary activities for the last few years, right? So would you like to tell us something about your experience as a fellow at Women Who Code Data Science, and how was it? What did you learn? What was your biggest takeaway? So yeah, we are very curious to know.
Sure. I think in one word, it was like really fascinating, and it was eye-opening for me as well. When I started as a fellow, I was really, so before that, I used to be part of other communities, open source communities as well, but I was more like in the back end. So Women Who Code was the first time when I actually came in front of the camera, or like started talking to so many new people. So at the very first, it was quite daunting for me because I wasn't really used to, speaking like, speaking with so many people and giving talks, all these things. I wasn't really used to it. So at first it took me a while to get a hold of myself. And again, I was looking other people's that time there was this former fellows, and I really learned a lot from them. I was actually watching through their videos, like how they greet people, how they introduce those guests, how to carry forward a conversation. I tried to learn, I tried to take notes from there, and then I molded according to my personality. So I didn't try to copy them, but I tried to get inspired by them, like how to make an engaging conversations. So that's something really has really has turned out great for me. I have become so much confident in public speaking now, and I don't even need so much preparation before coming in front of the mic, which is amazing. It saves a lot of time. Previously, I used to spend like hours after hours rehearsing my scripts, and then when I came out in front of the camera, I started talking like I'm memorizing things. It wasn't natural at all. If I look back to my previous talk, like before Women Who Code, my public speaking presentations, I just laugh at myself and get embarrassed, like how monotonous and mechanic that sounded. But throughout this fellowship experience, as I said, I think my biggest takeaways will be this, like my public speaking skill has grown tremendously. My confidence level has, went through the roof. But more importantly, this is last, but absolutely not the least, I got inspired. I got to, meet so many amazing women, and some experiences were really eye-opening. Like when I was hearing some of their stories, it really struck my mind, like, women are, I never doubted that women can do such great things, but by hearing their stories, it just gave another layer of confirmation, like if they can do it, I can do it as well. So I was always mesmerized by people who came from different backgrounds, like completely different backgrounds than maybe I came in. I thought my situation was difficult, but when I hear other people's story, I feel like there are people with more difficult situations, but they overcame, they shine so much. So there is no reason for me to not try. So when next time I feel like a failure, it reminds me, like, there is no reason for me to complain. I shouldn't complain, because there were people who came from even much more less privileged situations, and they made the best out of it. So that was really inspiring, and this is one message I always will carry forward with me.
Yeah, you always feel like you are probably in the worst situation possible in your life, but then you hear or see someone else, and then you see that, oh crap, it could have been worse. But no, at least I have so and so, or such and such thing is better than that thing, and then that works as such a big eye opener often. Yeah, so we are kind of getting closer to the end of the thing, but we still have, another round and some Q&A session. But before that, one last remark, comment, advice, whatever you say. What do you have, or what would you like to suggest other women if they are starting their journey in, or who are basically beginning their journeys or careers in tech?
So my advice would be, I think first of all, when you see a role model, like, or when you see like a person who you are really impressed with, someone in tech, don't so there is two way of saying this. Sometimes we see a role model, someone who is really inspiring, but instead of getting inspired, we feel like, oh, that person is so great, I'm not as smart as this person, I will never be like that person. On the other way, like on the flip side, what you can tell yourself, like, if that person can be there, I can be there too. So I think there are just two ways of thinking it. So for me, I have trained myself. It's requires a bit of a training to not feel, overwhelmed by all the achievements you see in LinkedIn, so, or in around your career, or around your community, that people are doing so many amazing things. So sometimes you feel like overwhelmed, and you feel like you are not doing enough, even if you are. So just don't get these things let inside your mind. And it's really important to tell yourself, like, you're better than this, you were better yesterday, you were good yesterday, you can be better tomorrow, and you just need to keep trying, and you will do it, you will make it eventually. Everyone makes it. So as you were saying, like, in the current situation, sometimes it feels like you are such a failure, or some things are not working out well. But eventually, when you give it a time and you keep trying, you will get past through it. Everyone gets past through it. And so just keep trying, and don't lose confidence. Just believe in yourself. Confidence creates all the differences. So you can be super talented, super, you have all these great qualities, but if you lack the confidence, it won't take you very far. So confidence and having belief in yourself is really, really important, and don't let this take away from you by anyone or anything.
Amazing, really, really inspiring. So I would say that we should conclude this first half of the session, because we have something else planned for you. So Siti, would you like to share? Yes. So we have a rapid fire round planned, where we are going to ask you to choose between 2 or 3 options, and you have to choose one. You can try to explain, but it's not necessary. Explain or defend your choices, but it's not necessary. So you can just answer, and then we move on, whatever works best for you. So if you're ready, then we will begin. We already have the first slide. So are you a Mac user, Linux user, or a Windows person?
I'm a Mac person.
Okay, next one, Siti. Vim, VS Code, or PyCharm?
I really like PyCharm. I have to use VS Code for some of the things at work, but honestly, my first love is PyCharm.
I agree. Next, command line or GUI?
So previously, when I started, it used to be GUI. I didn't really understand command line that time. It seemed like unnecessary complications, but now I got used to it. I don't want to go back. I really love, especially when you use this terminal based operating systems like Linux or Mac. Command line is very, very handy.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's hard for me to now use GUI. So are you an Android person or an iPhone?
Well, ironically, I'm an Android person. Although I'm a Mac user, but I don't know how to explain this, but I don't want to be in the iPhone boat. I
I
love Android.
totally relate with you because I am the same. I love using a Mac, but then I always prefer Android to iPhone. And I don't know. I mean, this seems to be a good combination. Often I come across. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a strange, but it's good. I mean, it's not like we are the outliers. Hopefully
That's
not.
amazing. And just now I found another like-minded person here throughout this interview. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next one. So, data science or web dev?
Data science for sure. Yeah, I tried web development. It was nice, but I realized it was not for me. Data science it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Same here. Next, do you want to be a manager or a developer?
I really enjoy being a developer. Even if I become manager one day, I still want to be, involved in this hands-on development work. I never want to quit developing things. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, developer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next one, backend or front end?
I think I am better in backend than front end because front end really needs that good sense of designing and graphical sense, which I think I lack. So I think backend is much easier for me.
Yeah, but which one do you think you like doing it?
I think backend as well, because as I say, like front end, sometimes I don't even like what I have made after spending hours. So, and when I see someone, so that, that's what I'm saying. Like when I see someone else's front page, I'm like, that's so cool. And look at my own product. So I don't like that. I think
That's
backend much.
that's probably imposter syndrome talking, but it's okay. We give you backend. Okay, next one. So would you like to code or party?
I like to code. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
get exhausted with so much social interaction, like when I have to talk with so many people, like talking as not like, this kind of development related or tech related talking, like, just chit chatting. I get, uh, I don't know, exhausted after a point. So coding is
Mm-hmm.
a way to
This
go
is
for me.
actually strange because I don't know if there's some bias in here because of the guests that we have invited and their careers or their career paths and stuff. But as far as I can remember, I cannot remember anyone who chose partying. I mean, I have to go back to the videos and check again, but I think everyone chose coding. So that's actually a pattern there.
That's
Maybe we should
interesting.
change this to a more difficult question. But anyway, next
Sleeping,
one.
maybe.
Oh yeah, that could have been a good one. So, do you prefer working from the office or remote work?
I prefer remote work. I mean, work from office has its own perks, but now I got too used to working from home. So I think, yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
go back anytime soon.
Yeah, the flexibility, it's amazing. And you can just, work from wherever, sometimes on the kitchen table, sometimes on the bed. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's something that I would definitely miss working from the office. Okay, next one. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
So I am a night owl, but to be honest, I've been really trying to be a morning person for long, and I think I have improved quite a bit. I am much more early riser these days than I used to be. So I think I will choose morning person because that's something I want to be and I'm trying towards. So I will pick
Mm-hmm.
that one.
That probably is also the current state, I guess.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Like you're trying to be a morning person, or like currently
Yeah,
you are a morning person. So that's the current state. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, next one. This is the last one. So tea or coffee?
It's actually sad, but I don't drink either. I think I have a little bit intolerance for caffeine, and it doesn't suit me. Like neither of them suits me. Especially coffee, I cannot smell the caffeine smell, and with tea as well, I feel like nauseous if I drink. So it's a bit sad. And no offense to the tea and coffee lovers.
But we can slightly tweak it maybe. So how about milk? Or hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, yeah, exactly. So hot chocolate is my love. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I knew it. Okay, great. So thank you so much, Zarreen, and thank you also so much, Siddhi, for sharing the slides. Now we have some time for Q&A, and we would like to address the Q&A, and I would also like to hand over the mic to Siddhi to take it up from here.
Thanks, Ashmi. It was wonderful just hearing you both. And in every event, I tell Ashmi that it never feels like a formal conversation. It always feels like a conversation between two friends. And I would also like to mention that I've known Zarreen for a while because I've worked under her leadership. And I knew about her a little bit, but thanks to this interview, I got to know so much more about her and about her journey. And I had a lot of takeaways from it. So I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you both.
That's so sweet. Thanks so much, Siddhi. It was always a great pleasure meeting you. Like when I was talking about meeting new people, I was actually meaning like you, Runjun, Ashmi, all these great minds.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Like, I don't know, I never thought somebody would think of me like that, but thank you so much. Of
course.
I will now move on to the Q&As. So we have a few questions for you, Zarreen. So the first one is from Sugandhi, who says that you're very inspiring, Zarreen, and I totally second that. She has the question for you, which says, how does your research work gets applied to your job? Do you have an environment where you experiment with your research ideas?
Yeah, that's a great question, to be honest, because it really depends on the work environment and mostly depends on your manager. So I have been really blessed with having managers who really let me explore this area, even in my work, and like to explore it in such a way, like it was a guided exploration so that the exploration can become fruitful and like something useful or productive comes out of it that will be useful for the business case, because in industry you always have to think about the business case, like the business model. You cannot just always do independent research for obvious reason. So so I would say, like when you are applying for a job or you are in the interview, ask this question to whoever your manager will be or your seniors will be in that company, just to ask like what is the research culture. And it also depends on the job title, job opening you are applying for. So my title is AI research scientist, so as you can tell from the title, it has a research aspect to it. But when you are choosing the job, you're applying for those openings, try to read their descriptions. Most of the time it will mention like you will be able to explore cutting edge technologies to innovate solutions, all this innovate, explore, try new algorithms. If these things are mentioned in the description, then most probably you will be able to explore that area.
All right, thanks for answering that question, Zarreen. We'll move on to the next question by Sugandhi as well, which says that I'm very interested in computer vision area. Is there any open source project you can recommend that I can participate in? You did answer this question during your interview a little bit. Maybe you could add on to any open source project that you can refer to her.
Sure. So I think I was mentioning about this participating into hackathons in computer vision. I would also say there are these really good courses in Coursera by Professor Andrew Ng, deep learning for computer vision, like spatially deep learning. It has multiple components, but you can just focus on the computer vision part. It's really nice because it really covers most of the state of the art algorithms. So you will also be, well educated of what's going on in the current world. And I also would highly recommend like participating in those like Kaggle competitions. So you don't have to actually participate in a competition, but you can just take any data set from there. You can look through their code, like how they're approaching. You get access to other people's notebooks there, other people's codes there. So just pick one data. If you in Kaggle, there are different flags. So if you click on computer vision, you will actually see all those challenges that ever been happened in Kaggle, including their data set. So that's really nice. You can pick any data set of your choice, and then you see other people's code. I personally learn a lot by seeing other people's code, by reviewing other people's code, because there's always something that I feel like, oh, this is really a smart way of doing this thing. I can incorporate it in my own coding style. So just try to look at other people's code, then try to implement it in your like solving a problem, whether be it in a hackathon or just any open source, like, just replicate what they have done, but in your own style. Maybe change the target column, like instead of doing object detection from an image, maybe you just do segmentation, you take it to the next level, you do some kind of blob detection as example. So just try to challenge yourself to do something new from that.
All right, those were some really valuable tips, Zarreen. Our next question is from Manali, who asks, what is computer vision, if you could share some light on it?
Sure. So computer vision is like a branch, like a sub branch of machine learning or image processing as well. So the idea here is to extract patterns from images or videos, anything that has pixels. So images are, for the simplicity, let's just talk about images, but images are like a bunch of pixels put together, right? And in the background, those pixels are nothing but some numerical values. The color code, maybe for grayscale, it's 0 to 255. For RGB, it's like those color codes. So it turns out that using any kind of statistical algorithm or image processing, you can actually find patterns out of those pixels, and using those patterns, you can identify the object. So you can do multiple things. You can either identify the object inside that image, or you animate that image, generate a new image out of that. You can do all this cool stuff. So it's mostly about like extracting patterns from images.
I see. Thank you for answering that question again. We'll move on to our next question, which says, thank you for the presentation. How do you keep a consistent habit when learning new things?
Yeah, so I think sometimes it gets hard, and when you are, I will be honest with you, like when you always are, chasing to try something new, it gets at some point it may get a bit tiring, and you may feel like burning out. So never, try not to let that happen to you. Just don't burn out. Like, you want to do new things, you want to achieve great things, but you don't want to burn out as well. That will be worse. So I'm really careful of my mental health and my mindfulness. I'm really I try to be as aware as possible. Sometimes I feel really tired, and I feel like, okay, I'm not feeling like trying new things, or I'm getting too busy with too many projects. That time, this is something during my fellowship as well, I try to practice that. I don't push my boundaries, my limits beyond the boundary. So I have a boundary set for myself personally, and whenever I'm approaching a new thing or something is happening, I feel like I ask this question to myself, like, am I feeling happy to do this thing, or this is something that takes away my peacefulness? It makes me stressed about the situation. If the answer is yes, I will just let it go. I will stop working on it. I will, if there has been like maybe I registered for a hackathon. As I was saying, like in some of the hackathons, I don't participate. I get registered, I attend, but I don't really get into the coding and submit things. That's okay, because sometimes I feel like, oh, this is getting too much, I don't have time, or I don't feel like doing it, I want to do other things, so I just don't do it at all. And that really helps. It may feel like, you know, you're backing out, but sometimes it's really important to back out few steps so that you can jump 4 steps farther. So it's really important to be mindful of your mental health and peace.
Thank you for such a lovely advice, Zarreen, and definitely setting up boundaries, even if you're like forming habits or learning new things, is very important. So thank you for sharing that advice. We'll move on to our next question, which is by Manali, who says that other than going through a course or participating in hackathon, how else may one find practical project or job? How did you find the internship or fellowship?
That's a good question. And to answer the first, like that's last question, like how did you find an internship? Actually, I found it through a hackathon. So now I think it contradicts the like it doesn't answer your first question, because you're asking for other ways. So there are definitely other ways of, you know, shining or getting through, standing out from the crowd without even participating or along with participating in these things. So there are like so many developer projects right now. Like there is this, I think, a developer group who work in climate change, like AI for climate change. Then there is this AI for good communities. There is this Omdena. I know from Women Who Code, quite a few people work in Omdena. It's like it's also something similar, like it tries to give you real world exposure and solve real world problems. You will be put into a team under a manager. It's very close to what you will be working on in real life, but except for it's not like a real, you know, job environment, but you will be doing so many practical stuffs. And it I haven't personally attended that program, but I know people who did, and they gave really great feedback of that. So maybe you can try try checking that out. And as I was saying, like there are so many developer communities based on your interest. If you're interested in computer vision, if you're interested in deep learning or just data science or statistics, as example, try to find those developer communities around you. Just, you know, use Google, you will get all those lists. Be a part of that, and you will get to see a lot of opportunities. If you're into AI, there is also an organization called Women in AI. They also have a lot of, you know, when you are part of these communities, you will get exposed to so many opportunities of contributing in different ways. Maybe give a talk about a topic that you just learned, or maybe write a blog. So Women Who Code Data Science really encourages people I know to write blogs, to give talks on the things you have learned. So definitely check that out. And I will always be biased towards Women Who Code. So I would say, you know, be active, keep being active in this, and just look for new opportunities that comes out.
Thanks for answering that question, Zarreen. And I would definitely second that communities like Women Who Code, like I can only speak for that, definitely gives you a lot of opportunities to network with people. And we also have a jobs channel, which is dedicated to, you know, like job opportunities and getting to know more about maybe internships or fellowships. So definitely these communities are great help for people. So I'll move on to the next question, which is any advice for people who are considering moving for learning or work opportunities?
So any advice for people who are considering moving for learning or work opportunities? Do you mean moving like outside of the country, moving out physically, or?
I believe they're talking about moving overseas. Because in your background as well, like you moved overseas, so I believe they're asking your advice for the same. But whoever has posted the question, you may like tell it in the Q&A box or chat if we have understood it correctly or not.
Okay, so in the meantime, I think I can start with that. So if the question, just correct me if I'm wrong, but if the question is about moving out of your place for different opportunities, so I think one advice I will give it to you based on my experience is that expect to be surprised about so many things. You might see some kind of cultural shock depending on where you are moving to. And also, like, you will be surprised by yourself as well. You will learn new things, not only about the culture or the country you move to or the place you move to, but also you will learn a lot about yourself. When I moved out of my family, that was the first time I started living on my own in a completely new place, in a new culture. I learned so much about myself because it really pushes you, like it challenges you to do things on your own. Sometimes it gets really difficult, but it will also tell you a lot about yourself, like how are you as a person, because when you are inside your comfort zone, sometimes it's hard to test those skills. But when you are outside of your comfort zone, you're on your own, you will learn so much. You will have to overcome barriers in unique ways that is unique to you. So you will make a lot of experiences, that's for sure. So I would just say, like, be prepared for anything, and obviously be safe. Don't trust people blindly when you are going to a new place. It's especially important because I know it gets a bit serious, but I want to emphasize this to whoever asking this. It's really important, like when you are moving out, when you're going to a new country or new place, especially as a female, I'm assuming the gender is female, I cannot see the name here, but especially as females, there can be situations where people might try to exploit you because they know that you are new. So in different ways, exploit, it can be like scamming. This is a real thing in like new places. So try to be safe, try to be cautious, definitely make a lot of friends, but also be safe. Don't trust people blindly. Try to be just try to be careful and have fun. You will have a lot of fun for sure. You will make a lot of stories to tell to other people.
Thanks for sharing those tips, Zarreen. Those were really practical and very helpful tips. So we'll move on to our next and last question, which is any tips for beginner learners on networking and coding in public? In bracket, they say speaking and publishing code to public.
Yeah, so for speaking, I would say like it definitely needs a lot of practice. So you just have to start from somewhere. I mean, just don't feel shy about anything. If you feel like this is the first time you are going to speak, maybe try speaking in a smaller room. Try speaking in front of a smaller audience. So as I was saying, like in Women Who Code, it really helped because I was also talking to the volunteers, to the leads in a very small, intimate gathering. But that also really helped me, come out of my shell. And they were also very inspiring and supportive. So when you get that, rewarding feedback from the audience to yourself, you feel more motivated, you feel like you can do more. So definitely start into that. There is no other way to be good at public speaking without actually doing it. So just start in whatever stage you are. Try to give it a shot. You may like it, and the first time it will never be, even if no matter how good you become at public speaking, you will never be very like super content about yourself. If you go back to any of if I go back to any of my previous talks, I always find flaws, and that's totally okay. So just don't be too much, just don't hold yourself back on that. Just give it a shot. And for publishing code to public, I think GitHub is the best way still. I would highly recommend like to keep your GitHub updated with all the cool stuffs you're doing. Even if it's not a like full-fledged project, it's just something you tried out of a tutorial. You just, try to imitate other people's code. That's fine too. Just put it on GitHub. You use this right template. So if it's a data science project, there is this data science cookie cutter template that you can use, and it will show you like how a data science project should look like structure wise, readme wise. README is very important. So whatever you are doing, try to put a very good README, like a writing piece out there explaining what you have done in the code, why you did that. So GitHub is the best way to publish your code. And that's also like, just to add, like to emphasize on the fact that how you can learn by seeing other people's code. So just look into any GitHub repository, like especially those interesting open source projects. Go to their GitHub repositories, look at their structure, read their README, and see what are the things they have included. Try to do similar for your code base.
All right, thanks for answering that question again, Zarreen, and those were really helpful tips. And I guess now we can conclude our event since we have gone through all the questions. In case you have any questions, you may add it.
I think there is one question in the chat.
All right, yes, I do see the question. Yes, so Zhao Tong asks the question that after rejections, how to decide which part needs to be enhanced first to get the desired position.
Right. So personally, what I know, because most of the cases, the rejection emails don't give you any personalized feedback. They just give you the decision. So sometimes it's really hard to know like what's not working for you. So in that case, what you can do is have your resume reviewed, your LinkedIn reviewed by someone, like maybe a friend of yours or a colleague of yours. Just get a second opinion, because a fresh pair of eyes will always, identify some things for you. That's one. Another is what I used to do is, the company who I got rejected for, I used to go to their LinkedIn page and try to find their current employees, go to their LinkedIn page and see what the things they have included in their LinkedIn, or sometimes they have links to their website, which has their resume. I try to go there and see how they have made their resume, what are the things they have included in their LinkedIn. And I try to understand like what are the things that might have stood out for them, and that's missing in my part. And then I try to work on those. So that also helps.
Thanks for answering that question. We have another question, which says, how can someone who is shy around people work on collaboration skills? How can someone who suffers from shyness make it in tech?
Yeah, I feel like it's very relatable to me. So I think the answer is, again, just be out there and start talking to people. At first, maybe just go to a gathering, like an event like that, go there and just sit still, like quietly, just listen to what other people are saying, attend to these calls multiple times. And then when you get familiarized with those faces, maybe start talking, maybe start giving your opinions on things. So I know in Women Who Code, there was this Bites and Brew events, which was really good for, overcoming shyness and starting to speak up, because this kind of intimate events really help you to come out of your shell and overcome this. And as I was saying, like the more you meet with new people, the more you are forced to talk to new people or interact with people, you are pushing your boundaries to overcome shyness. So definitely, like meeting new people, interacting with people, working with other people in different settings really helps.
All right, thank you for answering that question, Zarreen. And I see we don't have any more questions, and we're also a little over time. In case the attendees still have any more questions, is there any platform on which they can connect with you, Zarreen?
Sure. I'm always available on LinkedIn. I'm available in data science Slack as well. You can reach out to me there anytime.
All right.
Yeah,
Zarreen, yeah, could you like share your maybe LinkedIn profile name or link, whatever is comfortable with you, in the chat box?
Yeah, sure. So that's my LinkedIn. And you will find me in data science Slack at my name, so which is Zarreen Reza. So it's basically the same name in all the Women Who Code Slacks.
All right. Thank you so much, Zarreen, for taking out time for this event. And it was lovely hearing about your journey. And you're definitely a very inspiring woman. And I hope the attendees enjoyed it. And also, I would like to thank Ashmi for taking out time and being a great interviewer every event. Like, she always makes the conversation very warm and friendly with our guest. And I would also like to thank our attendees for taking out time and attending this event. And I hope to see you all in our next event of this series. So I'll conclude the event now. Bye, everyone.